Upon completing this in-service, you will be, number 1, be able to understand the purpose of texture-modified foods for pureed. Number 2, be aware of foods to include and to avoid on a puree diet. And number 3, know the different tips to prepare quality pureed foods. The purpose of texture-modified foods is to provide foods that can be successfully and safely swallowed. Residents who have or who are at risk for dysphagia, which is difficulty swallowing, may need to have texture-modified foods for successful and safe swallowing. Information in this training is based on the National Dysphagia Diet protocols. Each individual may or may not be able to tolerate the foods as stated in this guideline. Follow medical orders in conjunction with speech therapist orders and recommendations to provide the resident with the foods they can chew and swallow successfully and safely. Texture-modified food level 1, dysphagia puree, commonly referred to as pureed, which consists of pureed, homogeneous, cohesive foods. Food should be pudding-like. No coarse textures, raw fruits or vegetables, nuts, or similar allowed. Any foods that require bolus formation or chewing are avoided or excluded. Beverages include any smooth, homogeneous beverages without lumps, chunks, or pulp, and avoid any beverages with lumps, chunks, seeds, pulp, etc. Breads would include commercially or facility-prepared puree bread mixes, pre-gelled slurry breads, pancakes, sweet rolls, Danish pastries, French toast, etc. that are gelled through the entire thickness of the product. Avoid all other breads, rolls, crackers, biscuits, pancakes, waffles, French toast, muffins, etc. Cereals include smooth, homogeneous cooked cereals such as farina-type cereals, should have a pudding-like consistency. Oatmeal is allowed unless speech therapist says otherwise. May use enough milk or cream with the cereals to moisten and should be blended in well. Desserts include smooth puddings, custards, yogurt, puree desserts, and soufflés. Avoid ices, gelatins, frozen juice bars, cookies, cakes, pies, pastry, coarse or textured puddings, bread and rice pudding, fruited yogurt. Fats include butter, margarine, strained gravy, sour cream, mayonnaise, cream cheese, whipped topping, cheese sauce, or hollandaise sauce. Avoid all fats with coarse or chunky additives. Include puree fruits or well-mashed fresh bananas, fruit juices without pulp, seeds, or chunks. Avoid whole fruits, fresh, frozen, canned, or dried. Meats include puree meats, braunschweigers, soufflés that are smooth and homogeneous, softened tofu mixed with moisture, hummus, or pureed legume spread, refried beans, guacamole. Avoid any whole or ground meats, fish or poultry, non-puree lentils or legumes, cheese, cottage cheese, peanut butter unless pureed into foods correctly, non-pureed fried, scrambled, or hard-cooked eggs. Potatoes and starches include mashed potatoes with sauce, pureed potatoes with gravy, butter, margarine, or sour cream, well-cooked pasta, noodles, bread dressing, or rice that have been pureed in a blender to smooth, homogeneous consistency. Avoid all other potatoes, rice, noodles, plain mashed potatoes, something that's too dry without gravy, cooked grains, non-pureed bread dressing. Include soups that have been pureed in a blender or strained. Avoid soups that have chunks or lumps. Vegetables include puree vegetables without chunks, lumps, pulp, or seeds, tomato paste or sauce without seeds, tomato or vegetable juice. Avoid all other vegetables that have not been pureed, tomato sauce with seeds, or thin tomato juice. And then miscellaneous include sugar, artificial sweetener, salt, fine ground pepper, spices, ketchup, mustard, barbecue sauce. These are all fine. But avoid coarsely ground pepper and herbs, chunky fruit preserves, and seedy jams, seeds, nuts, sticky foods, chewy candies such as caramels. Some additional preparation tips. Since air may be incorporated into foods while they are being texturally modified, it's good practice to take the temperature of the modified foods and, if needed, reheat to 165 degrees or re-chill for food safety. Do not attempt to reheat in the steam table. Use a blender and/or food processor for preparing texture-modified foods. Use broth or other flavorful and nutritious liquid to moisture texturally modified foods. Water should be a last option as it does not enhance the food flavor, but may actually reduce the flavor. Follow menus and recipes for food preparation and portion sizes. Consider preparing 1 or 2 servings more than needed in case something happens to a portion, for example, if it dropped on the floor. to compensate for food that sticks to the pan or in case someone wants seconds. Volume method option for portioning puree foods. Determine how many portions, how many servings of a food you're going to need. Cut larger meats or foods into small pieces before putting it in the blender or food processor. Do not overfill your blender or food processor. This may need to be done in more than one batch. Puree the food according to the recipe, adding thickener if that is part of the recipe. Once the food item is pureed, transfer it to a 2-quart or larger measuring cup where measurement lines are clearly visible. Using the measuring cup, you can see the volume or the amount of pureed food to be portioned out. If the measurement indicates 4 cups of pureed food and 8 servings were used, then 4 cups divided by 8 servings is a half a cup. A scoop chart would show that a half a cup is a number 8 scoop. A pureed food is by volume chart would quickly show how much and what size serving utensil to use for the volume of prepared food without doing all the calculations. Test your knowledge preparing texture-modified foods, puree foods. Question number 1. What is the purpose of texture-modified foods? A. Provide food that can be successfully and safely swallowed. B. Give the cook more work to do. C. Provide food that is hard to chew and swallow. Or D. To give the resident food for thought. And the answer to question number 1, what is the purpose of texture-modified foods? That would be A, provide food that can be successfully and safely swallowed. Question number 2, according to the National Dysphagia Diet, how should food look once it's been pureed? A, homogeneous and cohesive. B, pudding-like. C, coarse in texture, or D, both A and B are correct. And the answer to question number 2 would be D, both A and B. Question number 3. Preparing 1 or 2 extra servings of pureed food should be considered A, in case something happens to a portion of food such as dropping a plate of food on the floor. B, in order to compensate for food that sticks to the pan. C, in case someone wants seconds. Or D, all of the above. And the answer to question number 3 is D, all of the above. Question number 4, true or false? It is a good idea to take temperatures of texture-modified foods because they may need to be reheated or rechilled after they have been prepared. And the answer to question number 4 is true. Question number 5, true or false? Puree volume method is an optional way for portioning puree foods. And the answer to question number 5 is true. Thank you for your participation in today's program. Our goal is for you to use this information in your daily work. We hope you are well served today and every day. If you would like more information about our in-service training programs or consulting dietitian services, please contact us at 1-800-761-9200 or nutritioncaresystems.com.